Hi, I'm Kesenya and welcome to Guiding Star Astrology. I'm your Astro Weather Girl, here with this week's Astro Weather Report. I'm going to show you how the stars are going to affect your life this week. In my videos, I use both Vedic and traditional Western techniques with tropical astrology, not sidereal astrology. I also use the traditional system of whole sign astrology for my analysis. You can use this video to the best of your advantage by listening to the introduction to understand what the week holds for you, and then going to the timestamps for your sun, moon, and rising sign to get a more personalized forecast for the week ahead. Astrology is not designed to scare you. It's designed to give you information so that you know what the good and the challenging energies in the week ahead will be, and you can therefore consciously work with them to the best of your advantage. Remember, knowledge is power. Now, there are scammers about, and so if you should receive a message from me on any platform requesting your money for a reading, know that it is a scam. Report them immediately. And now settle in and let's see what the astral skies have in store for the week ahead. Hello, my beautiful friends in YouTube land and also in Patreon land. It's wonderful to have you with me for a very, very special video. We're in eclipse season. This video is all about the black moon eclipse at 29 degrees of Aries on the 20th of April. Very, very exciting. So in this video, I'm going to be talking about a number of things pertaining, obviously, to eclipses and to this eclipse in particular. So I'm going to be talking about the nature of new moon, or as they're otherwise known, solar eclipses. I'm going to be talking about new moon in Aries energy and what is symbolized by a new moon eclipse in Aries. I'm going to be talking about the chart of this eclipse and all the energies that are playing into this particular eclipse moment, where the eclipses will be visible and what that means in terms of where it's visible. And I'm going to be looking at what it means if you have key planets that are interacting with this eclipse, what that means for you. I'm also going to be looking at the Saros cycle of the eclipse. That's very different to the Metonic cycle. We're going to be looking at the Saros cycle of this eclipse and its effects on us personally. And finally, I'm going to be looking at the effects of this eclipse as they will play out for each and every sign. This is going to be a huge, massive video. That said, my Patreon members are going to be getting an extended personal reading for all signs all about this eclipse. I'll do a little one here for my YouTube followers, but if you want the really big juicy stuff, the really big breakdown personally for each sign, you'll want to head over to the Patreon page where I'll go into greater depth than I have time to give here on YouTube. So you can join the Patreon family for as long as you like. You can join for a week, you can join for a month, you can join for a year, you can join for whatever. But I do monthly moon reports, 2 monthly moon reports, a new moon report and a full moon report, and a monthly report detailing some interesting aspect of astrology that you can learn and apply to your own life. So that's what you get as a Patreon member at the bronze star level. So if you'd like to join and get access to this eclipse video and the full breakdown for all signs, and also you're going to get access in this month to another couple of videos all about astrology. There will be another eclipse video that I'll be doing in May, so get ready for that one as well. But you just need to join the links in the description below. You will learn so much and be so richly blessed by joining our beautiful Guiding Star family there at the Patreon page. It's only $5 for a month too, which is really, really good value. So let's begin. The nature of solar eclipses or new moon eclipses. It's like a new moon on steroids is what this energy is like. Well, usually a solar eclipse will trigger events. The traditional idea is that it'll trigger events either a week before or a week after the eclipse. And as we know, it's occurring on the 20th of April. So a week before the 20th of April and a week after the 20th of April. And so you'll get a key event manifesting in that time frame. This is the traditional idea. You'll get a key event. You might receive some news. You might meet somebody special. You might get a job, lose a job. Something key will unfold in that period. If this eclipse is particularly tangoing strongly with your chart, we'll talk about that in a second. But so there's a key event that occurs in that time frame, and then things unfold for 6 months afterwards to do with that. Now, last time there was an eclipse of this nature, it fell on a key point in my chart, which indicated that I would get a part-time job, a casual job in town in order to connect socially with my community, which is something I've very much missed because I work from home here on YouTube. And that happened. And so I got the job in the time frame of the eclipse. And from then on, it's been playing out, and we're coming up to a 6-month period where I have been juggling my working life here on YouTube and my responsibilities at this casual job in town. It's given me great social opportunities, and I've really, really enjoyed it. I don't know if it's going to continue after the 6-month period. I intend that it will, but who knows? Usually eclipses give a certain event within that time frame, a week before or a week after, and then you will see them playing out and in effect in some way for at least 6 months after the event. So that's the first thing. So there is another method of calculating when an eclipse is active, when the eclipse is in its activation phase. And I prefer to use this particular analysis, actually. The analysis is that when the sun moves within 19 degrees of the nodes on either side, this is when the eclipse season begins. Within 19 degrees of the nodes. So we've been in an active phase because here is the sun within 19 degrees. Here's the node at 4 degrees. 4 degrees here of Taurus. So when the sun was within 19 degrees of the node of the moon, the north node of the moon in this case, the eclipse season became activated. So this occurred on the 6th of April. That's Australian time, but pretty much that's accurate for the whole world. The 6th of April is when we moved into the eclipse activation phase. So has anything happened for you since the 6th of April that is key in your life, that was quite life-changing or quite momentous in some way? Take notice of that, because that is the eclipse in activation. So we'll talk about the degrees and everything when we do the chart breakdown, but it's going to be particularly noticeable if you have the 29th degree of Aries or thereabouts activated by the eclipse, that you might have noticed some big life-changing event occur in this activation phase. Now, interestingly, excuse me, just before an eclipse occurs, there's usually a drop in the Earth's electromagnetic emissions, and this has been scientifically recorded. So science has correlated with our astrological understanding to say, hey, there's a shift, there's a change in energy. So it's measurable, the change in energy. So we're talking astrologically where we notice internally with our feelings or with events and circumstances that there is a shift because of the eclipse. Same deal. In science, they have noticed that just before the eclipse occurs, not from the 6th of April, but around the time of the 20th when the eclipse occurs, that the Earth's electromagnetic emissions dip. Very interesting, isn't it? That's just, imagine how many other energy fields, energy sources that we can't yet measure with science might actually be being activated and effective because of an eclipse as well. Now, in mundane astrology, which is world astrology, solar eclipses, which are rarer to see than lunar eclipses, just a little bit on that, I'll just do a little sidetrack. Lunar eclipses are usually visible from up to 50% of the area of the Earth. Half the Earth can see a lunar eclipse, which is going to be the case with the eclipse that's coming up in May, which I'll talk about in my next eclipse video. But you can see them from 50% of the Earth, but solar eclipses are visible from a much smaller area of the Earth, much more minuscule, who gets affected by a solar eclipse. So in mundane astrology, world astrology, solar eclipses, because they cover a smaller area and affect a smaller area, they affect the leadership. And also the sun is being eclipsed by the moon in this instance. They're lining up directly in line with the earth. So the earth, our vantage point from the earth, we can't see the sun. And what is the sun? The kingship. So in mundane astrology, solar eclipses affect the leadership. They can bring leadership changes. They can bring an instability in leadership, governmental leadership, kingship. Anyone who's in a leadership position can be affected to some extent by a solar or new moon eclipse. Bring it on. I think we need a really big reshuffle in leadership, that's for sure. So any changes that come with a solar eclipse will be caused from the outside in. Solar eclipses are outside in. So a circumstance or an event that happens in the outer world impacts you personally, and you must change, adjust, and adapt. So that can mean with a solar eclipse, you might meet somebody, or you get a job offer, or you lose a job, or you might get some money, or something happens externally to you that you don't really have control over, and you must change and adapt to it. That's how a solar eclipse works. Lunar eclipses are different. We'll talk about that in my next eclipse video. Now, some astrological texts indicate that a new moon eclipse or a solar eclipse is felt stronger by people who were born during the day, those who have a day chart, because the sun governs the day, and therefore the sun is the more significant indicator than the moon. And when the sun in a new moon eclipse when the moon is eclipsing the sun, blocking out the sun, this is the only time that the sun is blocked out. The only time we cannot see the sun during the day is during a new moon solar eclipse. And so anyone who is governed by the sun with a day chart is going to feel that shift, that change in energy more profoundly than somebody born at night who is governed by the moon. So it's quite influential on day birth charts for that reason. And it is such a profound experience because there's no phenomenon in astronomy that blocks the sun from view other than the sun going, the earth turning and we, losing the sun's rays at nighttime because the sun is out of view. This is the only other phenomenon that blocks the sun, and it only happens rarely, twice a year. So eclipses, they mark a major turning point in life, lunar eclipses or solar eclipses. Basically, the universe is intent on moving you forward now with this eclipse, on changing your life in some way. There'll be no going back from whatever occurs. It is cut off, it is ended, you are moving forward into some type of destiny that the universe has planned for you. And this energy is also, it's all about realigning with your purpose, your intent for incarnation. Why did you come into this earthly life? Why did you choose to be born and live a life here on earth? Whatever that purpose was, and karmic astrology actually does reveal that to us. If you're interested in studying karmic astrology, I will be looking at that in the Royal Stars Academy Level 3, which will be released in 2024. But the purpose and intent for incarnation is what the eclipses want to push us towards and help us grow towards. And if we've got off track with our purpose and intent, then it's going to kick our butt and get us back in line, back on track. Anything superfluous to our purpose and intent for incarnation will be let go of because of an eclipse. So if you are on your divine path, you've got nothing to worry about. It's just all thumbs up, from the eclipse and what it's going to do for you. If you are getting sidetracked with all sorts of BS in life, the eclipse is going to say, time we got you back on that yellow brick road, come on. So it'll kick your pants to get you back on the yellow brick road, let's say. So remember that. If you hit the wall during this eclipse season, whatever is happening is actually for your highest good. It's in order to help realign you with the soul's purpose, the soul's intent, your dharma, why you even came in here in the first place. Remember that. And because of that influence, remember to always act with kindness, to forgive, because if someone is being let go of, as a part of the soul trying to get them back on track, it's painful to see a relationship end or to lose a job or, have to move home when you don't want to, that sort of thing. These sorts of events that eclipses can trigger can be difficult and painful. So Be kind. Be forgiving. Someone might be letting go of you because of an eclipse. I've been dumped because of an eclipse energy before, and it's hard, but that was part of the soul destiny. The universe had better things in store for me than that particular relationship, so letting go was essential. That's okay. Remember, my friends, we don't owe anyone anything, and neither does anybody owe us anything in this life other than kindness. We owe kindness to others, and we owe kindness to ourselves. That's all that we owe. So act with kindness no matter what is unfolding as a result of the eclipse that's coming up. Allow in, this is how we work with eclipse energies. Allow in whatever needs to take place. Don't fight it. This is about let go and let God. Go with the flow. Because you're with an eclipse falling at a key point in your chart, in your life, this indicates an important turning point in your life. Because a complete change of pace is now at hand and is now unfolding for you. Now, that can indicate that there'll be some big news of some big life event that's going to affect you. That's how the events can come in. Or something manifests, okay? Just to make that clear. Solar eclipses, new moon eclipses, tend to create new beginnings and bright new opportunities. So there might be some news like, oh, you've got the job, or oh, that person has stumbled across your path, and lo and behold, they're going to have an important impact on your life in some way, or you'll be having more to do with them. Maybe there's somebody new at work and you're there to mentor them and they turn out to be the love of your life or something. There will be some news of somebody coming in. There'll be some news of a new job, or there'll be some news that creates new beginnings and bright new opportunities. Often there'll be a random event that you didn't expect. This is an exciting time of change. So I love eclipses, People get, scared. Oh, what's it going to do to me? Bite my nails. No, it's not a nail-biting thing. It's okay, universe, what have you got in store for me? What are you going to bring me? How can I work with this energy? Okay, I'm going to lose my job. That must mean there's something better for me out there. I'm going to find it. I'm going to go for it. I'm going to make it happen for me. I'm losing my relationship. Bring it on. I'm going to find the love of my life because now I'm free to go find the right person for me and they're free to find the right person for them. See it in a positive, upbeat light. The universe is taking you through big events that are occurring now, more into your destiny. And I've just given you examples of some really difficult situations, but it can be great things too. The love of your life comes in. You get a windfall of money. You move to a better, bigger, beautiful home. Things can happen that really take you to a new place of blessing. Random events that you didn't expect, exciting time of change. That's the theme here. So, what's the summation for this? Pay attention to all events, all news, all gossip, all interactions that fall within the eclipse season from the 6th of April, because they are going to be somehow important going forward in your life. Now, this eclipse falls with the North Node, which is a double whammy influence for new beginnings. New moon or solar eclipses indicate new beginnings. So too when the eclipse falls with the North Node of the moon, because the North Node represents our destiny, what we're moving into, where the soul wants to take us in this lifetime. So big time, new beginnings, new starts, turning over new leaves in the story of your life. If this eclipse is falling with your sun placement, and we're going to talk about all planets in just a second, but if it's falling with your sun placement, it indicates that it's going to be a key year in the course of your life, because you will obviously be having a solar return chart that carries the new moon eclipse energy. You're going to have this energy with you all year. And that means it's going to be one of the biggest turning point years of your life. If this is falling with your sun, let's say sun at 29 degrees of Aries. If you're Leo rising or Leo sun or Leo moon, as I am, you can be more affected by this eclipse because the sun, who is being eclipsed, who is being blotted out of the sky by the moon, the sun is the ruler of your sign, your moon sign, your sun sign, or your rising sign. So this can be very impactful if you have Leo in that manner in your chart. Get ready. Get ready, my Leo friends. Now, eclipses that are in the same element as your birth sign, so a fire sign in this case, let's say you have a fire moon, fire sun, or fire rising sign, that means the eclipse might be more friendly to you and give blessing to you. Why? Because the eclipse at 29 degrees of Aries will trine any Leo placements that you've got, another fire sign, and trine any Sagittarius placements that you've got, because they are the fire signs making a grand trine. So in that case, if you've got sun, moon, or rising in Leo or Sagittarius, or even Aries, you can, by sign, be affected in a beneficial way. So yay, cheers to you guys. All right, before we start looking at this chart, I want to talk about what it means to have a new moon in Aries. Now, we have a new moon in Aries we have it every year. This year, we're having a new moon in Aries twice. I'm going to talk about that soon. That's why this is called a black moon eclipse, because there's been 2 new moons in a single sign. So 2 new moons in Aries this year, quite a rare occurrence actually, and very special occurrence. But this particular new moon, which is an eclipse, is like the regular annual new moon in Aries, but on steroids, even more amplified, even bigger. It's like speaking your truth, but through a megaphone, so everybody can hear it. That's how much more amplified the energy of this eclipse is. So a new moon in Aries indicates gradual life improvements are now taking place. It's time to take initiative with something in your life. It's time to step out. It's an energy of brand new beginnings. I mean, when the sun moves into Aries, it's spring equinox. That's very significant. That gives Aries the tone of new life, new starts, fresh starts, new beginnings. And of course, that's what we're looking at also with this eclipse as well. So big time for fire signs, Leo signs, and Aries signs, brand new start. So it's time to make plans going ahead for the whole year if you're influenced by this eclipse. Also, a new moon in Aries is all about bravery, determination, and self-assertion. You will need that in life now. You will need to be brave. You will need to be determined about something. You will need to assert yourself in positive ways because of what this new moon in Aries brings about. There's a big desire now with a new moon in Aries for new things. And so it's like a child. I mean, Aries is compared to the child of the zodiac, where the child comes up to mummy and says, "I want this, mummy." And usually mummy, you know what it's like to be a mother, usually mothers give benevolently to their children. They love their children. They want their children to have good things. And we have the best mother of all. We have Gaia, the earth mother. So now is the time to beseech our mummy, because Aries is like the child, and say, "Gaia, I want this. Please bring this into my life." And Gaia, the benevolent Mother Earth, seeks to provide what her child would like within reason and within what is best for the child. So I would use this energy to present your requests to Mother Earth for a better life, a fuller life, a blessed life, or freedom on the earth for all people. That's the new moon in Aries. Now we're getting down to the nitty-gritty, and this is where I really want you to pay attention, my friends, because we're going to be looking at what is affected under this eclipse energy and how it's going to be playing out. So let's make a start by looking at what is happening in the astral skies within 24 to 48 hours of the eclipse. And there's actually not a lot happening, I have to admit, compared to last year's eclipses that were highly active and potent. On the 21st of April, so the day after the eclipse occurs, the sun is going to square Pluto. When the sun moves into Taurus, the day after the eclipse, that will then cause the sun to make a square to Pluto. So that's actually influencing the new moon eclipse. It's within orb. I only use 5-degree orbs. It's within orb of the new moon. The eclipse is within orb of a square to Pluto. So this indicates perhaps this eclipse might bring power struggles, because that's what Pluto squares can do. Power struggles, stubbornness, they're hallmarks of this combination. You might really, because of this eclipse, be feeling the pressure now during this eclipse season, feeling pressurized as people seek to manipulate you, to coerce you, or to control you. Now, this eclipse energy could play out for the next 6 months, so we need to be aware of this. Knowledge is power. You understand what's going on and where it's coming from and why it's happening, and you write it out as best you can. How do we deal with this kind of Pluto square energy, which is really not much fun? Well, I would suggest using the power that this is bringing and directing it into your own life. Find ways to passionately create. If you direct that energy into creating something or to get intense about something you feel passionate about in a healthy way, then you're shifting that energy from the frustration and the pressure and the manipulation that can otherwise manifest into something else. And that alleviates that more negative expression. So get creative, my friends. The sun is a super creative energy in the sign of Aries, very, very creative. So maybe get out your painting or your sewing or your sculpture or whatever it is that is your creative expression, maybe writing or whatever, and start to get passionate about pursuing a project. Drive your energy into that instead, and there might be a lessening then in your personal life of any manipulation or coercion. So evaluate your life now. Determine where you need to take your power back again. That's what Pluto's calling us to do. Where we need to revisit our deepest ambitions once again. So take a good think about that sort of thing. That's what this eclipse is calling you to consider. What direction, what passion, what ambition are you wanting to see manifest in your life? Start to analyze that and maybe make some new beginnings, turning over new leaves in your life towards that end. Finally, this Pluto square to the eclipse indicates that your identity may need an overhaul. You might need to change your image. The sun is our identity, how we see ourselves and how we shine ourselves to the world. So you might need to transform, Pluto, your identity in some way. Maybe if you've been single, you might meet someone as a result of this eclipse, and then your identity becomes that of a couple rather than a singular person. So that's one example. There's many other examples of identity getting an overhaul. But this eclipse is the day where you can use this energy to take meaningful steps to recreate and transform and renovate, if you like, your identity. And by doing that consciously, you're working in the positive manifestation of this energy rather than letting it manipulate you. Now, also happening on the 21st of April, at the time of the eclipse, is this little fella right down here. This is Mercury. Mercury's going to be turning retrograde until the 14th of May 2023. So practically for the whole duration of eclipse season, Mercury is going to be retrograde from one eclipse to another. So what does it mean when Mercury is retrograde? We talk about this 3 times a year, so bear with me while I just recover it for anybody new to this channel. This is a time of rethinking our choices, especially our choices that have to do with Taurus-based things, money, trade, investments, and issues of self-valuing. It's a time of second thoughts and second chances. And of course, this energy then ties into the eclipse energy as well. So there might be something that this eclipse is bringing you that causes you to rethink and reevaluate finance, money, investments, and how you see yourself, how you value yourself. Taurus is also a sign connected to values, our sensual side, our material side. And Mercury retrograde is a time for revamping anything and everything to do with ourself, our resources, and what we find pleasurable. So from, how we value ourselves in relationship or how we value relationships itself, to our earning capacity and how we value what we're earning. Like, am I earning what I deserve given my education, given my hard work? Am I getting what I deserve? We're reevaluating this while Mercury is retrograding. We might be reevaluating our material status and our comfort level in life, and how can we make changes to our comfort level, or how can we bless others because we've been so blessed. We might be doing some reevaluation there as well. We can also be reevaluating the pleasures that we allow ourselves. If we're a workaholic and we never take time for pleasure, life sucks. So we might be reevaluating, how can I bring more pleasure into my life? We're evaluating what we can and cannot afford under a Mercury retrograde period. So this is going to last 3 weeks as we assess this. So in this season of look at the world. We're in an era of material inflation and high pressure stress financially. This is a very pertinent retrograde period of Mercury as we reevaluate all these things. How can we make practical, tangible life work better for us in some way? Mercury retrograde allows us energetic time and space to research our next best step in life materially, to reconnect with friends and lovers from the past, to resolve life's conflicts harmoniously, and to make fresh starts with our financial and material situation. Take this opportunity. It's being presented to you on a platter. Don't deny it, don't ignore it, don't avoid it. It's time for making your life better through rethinking and revamping anything in your life to do with Taurus-based themes. So that's what's happening the day after the eclipse. So it's going to tie in to what this eclipse is all about, and we might feel the after effects for about 6 months. But let's look at the eclipse itself. When a new moon eclipse occurs, the moon becomes dark for 3 days. That's any new moon, not just an eclipse, I should say, but any new moon in any sign. The moon disappears. And when we have no moon in the sky, then the moon, who is a very manifesting influence upon us here on Earth, we kind of lose that ability to manifest. And that's why a new moon is always a time for becoming introspective and weighing up our inner world. That means assessing how we feel at the very core of our being before we take action on something. It's about going inward. And, this is symbolic. This is the mythologies that we see about the 3-day cycle that occurs. It happens with the sun, but that's usually to do with the solstices and equinoxes. Actually, not equinoxes, just the solstices. And it also happens with the moon, a 3-day cycle. So, Jonah in the belly of the whale, Jesus in the tomb for 3 days. And there's so many mythologies that talk about this 3-day hidden away and then coming back again kind of influence. That's the moon. It disappears for 3 days and then it comes back. It's an analogy for that. Jesus, I believe, is actually an analogy for the sun stopping for 3 days and then beginning to move again. But we'll talk about that when we talk about the solstices. But look, this is a time for, as I said, introspecting while the moon is invisible. No more hiding things in the basement. Our weaknesses, our struggles, our darkness, we look at them now under this influence. And so you can expect that during this eclipse, deep things are going to be revealed to you as you introspect and go inward and evaluate your life. And remember, a new moon eclipse is like a new moon on steroids. You're really going to see some cobwebs in the basement under this influence when you introspect and go inward, go within. So on the 20th of April, 2023, we are having the second black moon. That means the second new moon in the same sign. So we had a new moon in Aries at 0 degrees of Aries about a month ago. And this is the second new moon in Aries. So that makes it a black moon. Black moon, but this one's an eclipse at 29 degrees. Let's write it on here for anybody who likes the visuals and my horrific writing. 29 degrees. 29 degrees of Aries. Oh my goodness. Such a powerful solar eclipse because it is at the anaretic degree, 29 degrees of Aries. And it's also conjunct, let me write it on here, the fixed star. There's our fixed star right there. The fixed star Al-Risha. Now, the anaretic degree indicates that this eclipse brings a strong karmic conclusion to something in your life, a wrapping up, an ending of something karmically now in order to bring in something new. So you might be about to meet the love of your life. What is that karmically wrapping up? A period of singleness that's coming to an end. And that might have been a karmic journey you had to undertake in this lifetime to go through a period of singleness. That's an example. There's a wrapping up and an ending, so something new can be begun. That's what the anaretic degree is indicating. Strong karma. You might not even be aware of it, but there's strong karma with this eclipse. Being conjunct the fixed star Al-Risha represents the joining of two ideas to create wisdom and understanding. Because that's the symbology of Al-Risha. Two ideas creating a greater concept or a greater energy or a greater power. Why? Why is that the case? Because Alrisha is located visually in visual astronomy at the knot in the tail of the two strings of the Pisces fish. It's a knotting together of two fishes going in different directions. It's bringing them together. Alrisha is a very significant star. It's a genteel star, and it brings creative solutions and the enjoyment of pleasure. So I see this beautiful star as bringing blessing to this eclipse. Thank God that it's with Alrisha. What a gift. We're going to see two directions united here. And my God, the earth needs that. It's my hope that this eclipse brings about to the right and the left, people who are, on the right and on the left, and seeing where they are actually united and on the same page and standing up against tyranny. Wouldn't that be great? Uniting two ideas to create a greater concept. Let's hope for it. We know the leaders of both sides are corrupt as all F, but the people, the masses, let's hope, come together and unite in some way as a result of this eclipse. So that's Alrisha, a gentle star. Yay. Now, as I said, this is a black moon eclipse. This is the second new moon in the month, and there's only 4 degrees between this particular eclipse and the placement of the north node. So the eclipse is at 29 degrees, and here's the north node at 4 degrees of Taurus. So this close conjunction with the north node, not every eclipse is this close to the north node. This close conjunction with the north node tells us that aside from the endings indicated by the anaretic degree, this is also an eclipse that's going to give very powerful new beginnings. Of course, the closer an eclipse occurs to the node of the moon, the more kick-ass it will be in our lives, the more power it exerts. Also, when an eclipse is occurring close to a node, it's indicating that this eclipse Saros series is at the midway point, the peak point, the high point of a usually 1200 to 1400 year cycle that eclipses go through. So very, very powerful eclipse in that regard. Not only that, and this is why this eclipse is more powerful than the lunar eclipse that's coming, because there's just so many activating factors that are quite key with this eclipse. Both Venus and Mars. Mars is the ruler of the eclipse. Why? Because Mars rules Aries. So Mars is the ruling dispositor of the eclipse. And Venus, who has not really got anything to do with the eclipse by connection itself, other than to be the lord of the node, north node, that's causing the eclipse, so has power in its own right in that sense. Both Venus and Mars here are out of bounds, beyond the declination of the sun, for those who are very into the astrology, the scientific nature of astrology. To have a planet out of bounds means they're wild. They're a bit untamed and a bit erratic. You don't know, a bit like Uranus. They could go, give sudden, impulsive, unexpected results. So to have the rulers of this eclipse out of bounds in the chart gives this whole eclipse, an energy of extreme. An energy of extremes. What is Mars and Venus together? Extreme sensuality, extreme passion, extreme sexuality, extreme lust. Mars and Venus, the two lovers in ancient mythology. So both of them are out of bounds. We could have extreme, unexpected, wild passion and lust from these two. Now that's important to remember. I want you to put a little mental note in your mind. Remember Mars and Venus, because when it comes to talking about the Saros cycle of this eclipse, you're going to need to remember that point. Mars, Venus, out of bounds, okay? So this is quite a confronting eclipse. It's not a bad eclipse. I don't see it bad in any way other than the square from Pluto, which could be difficult, but put it this way, it's not going to be a subtle eclipse. It's going to be written across the sky in large letters. You will feel the impact. You will know it's from the eclipse. There'll be no doubt. It is going to be like kaboom in its effects. So my friends, that's the chart of the eclipse. Do you have planets around 29 degrees of Aries? And for an eclipse like this, I would give maybe a 4-degree orb of influence. So within 4 degrees of 29 degrees of Aries. Were you born during the daytime? Are you going to be under a greater influence of this eclipse because you have a day birth? Do you have a strong Leo placement in your chart? Basically, if you've got sun, moon, or rising in Leo, every solar eclipse, you'll feel it. I've got a sun in Leo, and I do. I notice eclipse energies every single time, whether it's falling with a key point in my chart or not. It affects me. Thanks, universe. I actually rather enjoy it, so it's okay. But do you have a strong Leo placement because the sun rules that sign? So do you want to know what it means for you, this eclipse, in greater depth? Once again, I'll just remind you, I'm going to do a breakdown here on YouTube. But if you want to know in great extended detail, there are videos. I'll have to break it into 3 because it's going to be too big a video to just put in the one. So there'll be 3 videos breaking it down for all signs in extended detail at the Patreon family if you want to know more about how it's going to affect you. Now I'm going to break here, and we're going to go to a little image that I've recorded on Zoom that I'm going to insert here that's going to show the path of the eclipse. So here on my computer, you can see the path of this particular solar eclipse, and it's going to be most visible across the tip of Western Australia here, right up to the higher end of Western Australia, and then across Indonesia and over towards Papua New Guinea. That way there. So that is the portion of the Earth that is under the influence of the total solar eclipse. And of course, it might actually affect the leadership of these countries in some way, as I discussed earlier. Now, looking at the chart of Australia, who is obviously one of the countries being influenced here, this eclipse is falling in the 7th house of the chart of Australia. And therefore, it may have some effect on our diplomatic relationships, partnerships that we have, and collaborations with other countries. So it's going to be very interesting to see how that plays out, seeing as Australia's role in the world is not one of a superpower, obviously, but more of a collaborator country. So this eclipse might have some effect on Australia and its partnerships and collaborations with various countries in the world. It remains to be seen, so do pay attention to what happens in the news pertaining to these countries affected by this particular eclipse. Fascinating, isn't it? So, my friends, do you have planets around 29 degrees of Aries? Well, they're going to be being activated now, as we've already established. New moon energy sees the beginnings, new starts, turning over new leaves. Usually with something that we've started earlier, like you can see the influence from times ago. So let me explain that in better terminology. What were you doing 2 weeks ago when we had a full moon? What were you doing 6 months ago when we had a full moon in Aries? What were you doing 1 year ago when we had the last new moon in Aries? So there's something that is repeating. There's something that is moving forward that was perhaps being established 2 weeks ago, 6 months ago, or 1 year ago. You could even look at 18 years ago, because that is the Saros cycle that eclipses move in. What were you doing 18 years ago? What does that take us to? I've just got to quickly do a mental calculation. 2005. What were you doing 18 years ago that's kind of repeating in its expression or repeating in its influence? Well, I'll tell you what I was doing. I was having my first child 18 years ago. Can't believe that it's gone so fast. But that shifted and changed my whole life, as children do, for 18 years. And I can see now, I'm envisioning, I've got a bit of an idea what this eclipse is doing in my life. I can see it coming to bear. And it's ending this 18-year period that I've been in since this eclipse occurred last time with the Saros cycle 18 years ago. So that period of being responsible for children on my own is coming to a conclusion, with my son now reaching his adulthood and now being responsible for himself. So big shifts, big changes that you can look at, that were established and are now repeating in some way 2 weeks ago, 6 months ago, 1 year ago, or 18 years ago? Take a look at your life and evaluate what theme is playing out. So, for this eclipse energy, you're going to need to have a planet or an important point in your chart within 2 to 4 degrees of 29 degrees of Aries. Or if you wanted to, I know a lot of you might want to do this, look at something squaring or opposing 29 degrees of Aries. You can look at that. There is an effect with that, absolutely. But the orb must be very tight in order for a true effect to be felt. So let's break it down. If you have the sun here at around 29 degrees of Aries, or squaring or opposing. So first of all, if you've got the sun conjunct with this solar eclipse, happy birthday, because it'll be your birthday. So this can bring in some sort of bright new goals in career that now begin to start afresh. You might have moved to a different career trajectory, or the universe might be pushing you into a new career path in some way. Maybe you've been on the wrong track for your soul's destiny and you've got to get on the right track with career. Now, also your sun is exalted in the sign of Aries, so there's this beautiful energy that comes with an eclipse falling on your sun, new life, and things springing in a blossoming, beautiful kind of way. It's likely that this eclipse will really amplify your ambitions and your drive. It's like it'll feel like there's some blocks removed. You can actually really drive yourself forward. You can really start to shine. You can really start to excel in career if the eclipse is falling with your sun. Competitive careers particularly, or innovative careers, energetic careers, sporting careers, Aries-based careers can really cause you to start to shine. Also, any entrepreneurial endeavors that you are involved in, or if you work for yourself and have your own career, you will really start to flourish as a result of the eclipse falling on your sun as well. You'll have lots of energy that will come into your life because of this eclipse. You suddenly notice an increase in vigor and passion that can come into your life. So in that sense, it can be quite a blessing. Now, if you have your moon falling in Aries, what that can indicate is, in conjunction with this eclipse I should add, what that can indicate is that there might be a new start with family. There might be a new start with family dynamics, or how you relate to your family. That could be your children or your partner or your parents even, or your extended family. You might have a new way of relating. You could also have a new change in dynamic with the home, who's living in the home, what the domestic life is like, whereabouts you live might change as a result of this eclipse. There can be some real activation of family life in some way. Maybe you have a family member that moves home to live with you or something like that, and some change in dynamic in family life. As I've said, you might enjoy living in a more hotter, drier place as a result of this eclipse, or you might find that your home feels warmer in some way. That's the nature of Aries, so you might notice that starting to your home feels warmer somehow. You don't need to put the heater on as much. You might feel emotionally, because moon is emotions, more emotionally triggered and fired up, easily angered, but also easy cool down. You don't stay upset for very long. Your emotions come and go quickly now as a result of this eclipse. And you might find a sense of stability and security in life through being creative, starting new projects, being physically active can be really, really stabilizing for you if you have the moon here. Now, if you have Mercury in conjunction with this eclipse, it can mean some some fresh new starts with trade, with communication, new friendships coming in, new connections, new networks, learning something new. You could be starting that sort of thing. You might also find that you're thinking quicker, you're talking quicker, and you're more invigorated in the way you think because of this eclipse as well. You want to move quickly through life and a bit busy, got a bit of a busy bee attitude, moving from one thing to the next, to the next, to the next. just be careful of this eclipse triggering some fighting with words that can come about. If you're feeling agitated at all, you can sort of like let rip with the mouth. Also just be careful also of mistakes in communication, in written work and administration, because you're rushing and because you're so busy as a result of what this eclipse brings. But that's the energy that I feel if you've got Mercury here. Now, if you have Venus here, it indicates a new beginning with relationships may be unfolding for you in your life. And that could be lovely. I mean, if you're in a relationship, maybe it needs a shot of adrenaline, a pumping up of enthusiasm and romance into a current relationship. So that can happen in this as a result of this eclipse. Or you might meet somebody if you're looking for somebody new in your life. So if you have Venus here, that can be quite a blessing, of course. And so new beginnings with finances can also happen. Maybe you get an opportunity to open a new bank account or a new savings account or invest in some new venture of some sort. Venus is all about relationships, and this eclipse can bring about more passion into relationships, more sexuality in relationships, more touch, more interaction of a physical nature as a result of this eclipse. Really you're going to want more sex as a result of this eclipse if you are in a relationship. And you won't want boredom. You want change in relationship. You'll want enthusiasm in your relationships. You want more straightforward behavior, no sort of walking on eggshells and beating around the bush with your partner. You don't want to waste time with mixed signals. You want it direct and straightforward. This eclipse is going to highlight that need for you. Also, what you feel is beautiful will be highlighted by this eclipse as well. You might find that there's more things in the world that you're attracted to, that you find desirable, and the eclipse might reveal those things to you in some way. Mars at the point of the eclipse, Mars in his rulership in Aries, this is a wonderful experience to have, or a position to have, that will be highlighted by this eclipse. It can make you very strong and vigorous, very sporty. If you're in a competition, you could actually win as a result of this eclipse. So it's a great time for entering sports competitions or an art exhibition where it's a competition to win first prize and that sort of thing. Now's the time to do that under the energy of this eclipse, because with Mars combining with this eclipse, you may actually win. Your sex drive will be amplified and turned on very quickly. This eclipse will do that for you. There's also the energy of wanting to be a fighter, and I hope for a fighter for good, to get triggered by your passions that push you to stand up for justice and be a warrior for truth. It can also push you to become successful and achieve with some ambitions that you've got. And I would suggest that if you have Mars in conjunction with this eclipse, that you get involved in some sports activity or competitive activity, because you're going to need an outlet. There's an amplification here of your vigor and your energy and your enthusiasm. It needs an expression. It needs an escape valve. If you have Jupiter conjunct here, then that's actually quite a blessing. Jupiter does well in fire signs. So it can bring a lot more luck into your life. You could get very lucky as a result of this eclipse landing on your Jupiter. So more blessing, more, it's good to take a risk if this is what you've got in your chart. Start something new in a big way. Turn over a new leaf in life in a way that just changes your whole worldview or expands your life, takes you out to a big picture kind of enjoyment of life instead of focusing on nitty-gritty details. You'll want to expand and grow, and this eclipse will bring you new ways to expand and grow, larger than life, so to speak. So very, very blessed position, and that blessing can then flow into the eclipse as well. Depending on the house placement, that's where the blessing will manifest in regards to the house placement. Saturn in Aries. This is a hard position. Saturn's in fall in Aries, but you can still have new beginnings, maybe with a government situation, or getting a government contract, or getting approval from the government, or dealing with authority figures. You might get a fresh start, or a new pair of eyes on a government situation, or a management situation, or something like that. You might even be offered opportunity through this eclipse to rise up into a management position or take a leadership position of some sort. So there can be blessing here, yes, but Saturn is in fall in Aries. It's his weakest position, and so if you've got an eclipse on your Saturn here, it might exacerbate those difficulties, just frustration, just the need to have to wait for something when you're wanting to move ahead, the need to be more mature, the need to be enduring, the need to work hard might be amplified somehow by this eclipse. So that obviously can suck, because we want to just, Aries energy is wanting to get on with it, wanting to make it happen. Let's go, go, go. And with Saturn here, you might want to go, go, go. But the energy of the eclipse might hold you back and put some blocks in the way and prevent things from moving forward as quickly as you might like. But there's a purpose, there's a reason. Saturn wants you to embrace new lessons in life and develop more stoicism, perhaps, I would suggest. Now, if you have one of the outer generational planets, then the effect is going to be more amongst a group of you, rather. You'll feel it personally, but you won't be the only one. It won't be a unique experience to you. If you've got Uranus at 29 degrees of Aries and you've got this going on, this eclipse triggering this, basically you'll just want new beginnings in sort of sudden, surprising ways. Maybe you want to get some new electrical equipment or a new technology or something in your home. You might want to get a new app or something like that, or maybe if you're involved in development of apps and things like that, you'll get some new ideas and innovation, set up a new website. You'll just be inspired to do more Uranian things as a result of this eclipse, and usually that will come in quite a surprising, sort of didn't see it coming kind of way. You will also be given some opportunity through this eclipse to become more authentic, with Uranus, to become more authentic and liberated in some way. So that could be the ultimate blessing, to be liberated and set free as a result of something that happens with this eclipse. If you have Neptune here, it's wonderful for creativity. You will get sort of divine downloads and psychic inspirations. Maybe you suddenly feel the impulse to write a poem or direct a film, or sew a costume or something like that. If you're feeling drawn in that direction, don't ignore it, don't deny it, just go with the flow and enjoy that amplification of Neptune creativity or psychic spirituality that might come to you. If you have Pluto here, there might be some sort of fresh, very strong new beginning, turning over a new leaf that allows you to so I'm just thinking, nobody will have Pluto here conjunct, but Pluto might be squaring or opposing, so that can be the case. So it's a time of transformation. This eclipse is going to transform your life, turn things around, give a lot of upheaval, but for the greater good, to Phoenix with the ashes, dissolving who you used to be to help you be birthed into who the universe wants you to be. So very, very powerful combination for starting a new life, really transforming who you are and the life experiences that you've been having because of a Pluto interaction with this eclipse. So that's our summation of all the planets interacting with this new moon solar eclipse. Now, I've talked about the planets, but you might also be interested in looking at the ascendant or the descendant, the MC, the IC, any antitia points, any contra antitia points, any midpoints, any Brigabindu points that are being activated as well. If that's the case, then this eclipse will, pack a punch in your life also. But I'm not going to break down what all those points mean, because we would be here all day and we don't have time for that. Now I want to talk about the Saros cycle of this eclipse. Now, the Saros cycle is known as 7 degrees, or not 7 degrees, 7 north is the name of this Saros cycle. And it began on October the 3rd, 1103, and it won't finish, this long duration of Saros cycle, it won't finish until November 5th, 2347. So this series of eclipses, it repeats, as I've already said, every 18 years, not every 19 years like the Metonic cycle does. They're two different things. The Saros cycle lasts 18 years, and it carries the energies of this initial eclipse chart. So the eclipse that began on October 3rd, 1103, is the energy that this series of eclipses will carry right through, every time that they occur, every 18 years, right through until the series finishes in 2347. So what did that initial chart look like? Well, in the initial chart, the eclipse opposed Pluto. It was opposing Pluto, okay? I'm going to talk about the effects of this initial eclipse chart soon. But the eclipse opposed Pluto. What's the eclipse doing this time? It's squaring Pluto. So we're getting like a repeating amplification of that initial Saros series energy. And I'll talk about what that looks like in just a second. We also had the eclipse in conjunction with the Venus-Mars midpoint. So for those who are not familiar with midpoints, it's the halfway point between where Venus and Mars were. So that is quite a significant midpoint. Now keep in mind, my lovely friends, that in this chart of this eclipse, as I said, Venus and Mars are prominent in that they are out of bounds. So they are having a significant impact on this eclipse as well, just like they did in the initial eclipse. So again, we've got these three key planets tying into this eclipse. We've got a square from Pluto to the eclipse. We've got Mars out of bounds and Venus out of bounds in this eclipse. And in the initial eclipse, they were the three planets that were really doing some kick-ass things. Venus, Mars, midpoint, and an opposition from Pluto. So what does this mean? Well, it means they are influencing this eclipse series, and of course we've paid attention to what they're doing now in this chart, but it means that our sensuality is heightened as a result of this eclipse. Our sensual experiences in the third dimensional realm in the body are heightened. Your taste might be amplified, your sensitivity to smell, your sight, that would be great, I'm starting to need glasses more and more, your sight might be amplified, or you just pick up things in the periphery of your vision in a way that you hadn't before, you know. The five senses and our sensual experience on earth are amplified because of this Saros series energy. We will also be confronted with our own deep passions. What are we passionate about? What are we driven about? What stirs and boils our blood? We are going to have to face up to our deep passions and why we feel the way we do, and maybe do something about it as a result of this Saros cycle. Any passions that we have repressed or hidden in our life, and sometimes for lifetimes, might now surge to the surface. So if we have, been denying something about our sexuality, or denying something about our need for support or love, or if we've been denying our need for personal power or something, those repressed passions, those repressed drives under the influence of this Saros cycle eclipse might suddenly come to the surface. And that's a good thing, because when we see something, when something is revealed to us, we can work with it. We can say, I'm taking my power back, or I'm going to honor my passion. I'm going to honor my sexuality. I'm going to honor my need for love. Once we know about it and it's not sort of repressed in our deep subconscious anymore, we can start to live it and be it and embrace it. So I'm loving this eclipse. Yes, it's intense and it's full on. This is a full on, passionate eclipse Saros cycle, but I love it for the power that it could bring us as individuals. The final thing that this initial Saros cycle carries is an energy of experiencing sudden sexual passion and lust and desire. Now, if you're anything like me and, the cobwebs have been growing, the tumbleweeds roll by for 12 years, then that could be a welcome energy that you are like, yep, I'm ready to embrace that. Bring that on. Thank you very much, universe. So I don't know, if you're like me, I hope that for all of us, it suddenly blossoms into something that has been repressed, perhaps not through intention, but through circumstances, that we have lost our libido or lost our passion or haven't had the opportunity to fulfill our sexual drive for one reason or another. My prayer is that this brings that repressed sexual drive to the surface and allows you to experience it in beauty and abundance and joy, because it's a glorious aspect of our humanness to be able to be beautifully sexual with one another. And just on that topic, I am so tired of seeing sexuality made dirty, made to be, shameful and associated with evil practices, because it's a beautiful gift from the gods. The ancient gods of mythology or whoever, the gods have given us the ability to relate to one another physically in the most divine way that can take us into places of ecstasy that you can't achieve in any other way. And so I hope for those of us who've had this area of our lives repressed for one reason or another, that this eclipse cycle allows, like the daffodil bulb to, break through the surface and start to rise up into blossoming again. That's something that this Saros cycle can do, and what a gift. What a gift, because it is beautiful and it's not dirty and it's not shameful, and we should celebrate that glorious aspect of our humanness. All right, so now we've come to the bit that you've all been waiting for, the all signs breakdown for the 20th of April, new moon, black moon eclipse in Aries. This is where we can expect to see sudden changes and new beginnings, where we can expect to have an important turning point arrive in our life. Our sensuality can be heightened, and we can also confront our own deep passions. So let's take a look at the signs. Okay, we're going to begin with Aries, funnily enough. Aries rising, Aries sun, Aries moon, people. Well, there is the chart and how it will appear for you and affecting your Aries rising sun or moon makeup. That's where all the planets will be falling. So this is telling me that there may be an opportunity for a relationship to start in some way, because this is the relationship axis, first house to seventh house. But if there is a relationship due to come into your life, Aries, you will be the one to start it. And you're also going to be experiencing some sort of new beginning, some sort of sudden change arriving in your life regarding your own autonomy, your own independence, maybe in the context of a relationship. Or perhaps you decide you're going to stand on your own 2 feet, you're going to be independent, you're going to live life according to what you want and you desire. So there can be sudden new beginnings and new changes with your own autonomy and your own the way you're doing relationship, or even a new relationship coming in where you are going to be an autonomous individual even within the context of that relationship. So new beginnings in that regard. There's an important turning point regarding how independent you are that's happening as a result of this fabulous eclipse. Now, obviously, we've talked about the Saros cycle and the fact that sensuality and sexuality can be heightened. This is exciting. This is so exciting. Really, I must say, for an Aries rising person, you might find this is very healing for you sexually, or in terms of your sensuality and your ability to sensually enjoy the pleasures of the body. Not just sex, but, fine food and glorious fabrics. And, I'm wearing my satin black jacket today. That sensuality of, touching something shiny and smooth. There can be very much for you a heightening of the pleasures of the body that come with sensual experience. And it can even be very healing, this eclipse, and heal any wounds that you've had regarding your sexuality or your sensuality, regarding your valuing and love of your body. So use this energy to love who you are, to love the skin that you're in. There might be some sudden changes that occur in your life as a result of this eclipse that lead to some new entrepreneurial endeavors for you or entrepreneurial opportunities. So keep your eyes peeled, Aries, for something exciting in that nature that might come your way. And the final thing is that an eclipse like this in your first house of you can actually bring an increase in popularity. So if you're, an influencer or on YouTube or something like that, this eclipse can actually bless you by helping, your fan base to grow if that's something that you want. But not only online, it could be, in town. Maybe you're running for mayor and you need to be popular to get voted in. So this eclipse can also bring an increase in popularity in those kinds of circumstances as well. So that's what I wanted to break down for our Aries rising sun or moon people. I do go into greater depth with my Patreon members. If you want to get the entire extended breakdown, where I'm going to go into greater detail with a lot more different things, then head over to my Patreon page, sign up, the link's in the description below, and get access to the breakdown for your sign, Aries. And for Patreon members watching this, let's now dive in deeper. All right, moving on from Aries to Pisces, Pisces rising, Pisces sun, Pisces moon people. This eclipse, my friends, is occurring in your second house. So what does this mean? Well, this is the realm where we can expect some sudden changes and new beginnings, where an important turning point arrives in our life, where our sensuality can be heightened and we can be confronted with our deep passions concerning second house things. So I am seeing for a lot of Pisces people that there's going to be a shift in your value system, how you value yourself. I mean, we see it all the time, especially in astrological circles or spiritual circles, where people are spiritually gifted in some way and they keep offering their services for nothing because they feel it's, especially Pisces people do this, they feel it's their service to the world and to humanity to offer their gifts with no reward, and they burn themselves out. It's time consuming. People don't appreciate what they're giving them, that is a devaluation of self. It really is. So maybe this eclipse might cause a lot of Pisces people to go, hey, you know what? I should be charging for my astrology readings. I need to, if I'm giving psychic information to people, then, maybe I need, them to remunerate me in some way. Maybe they can make me a cake or take me out for coffee. But I shouldn't be giving myself away for nothing. So, you're going to be evaluating, and how should I be remunerated for the gifts that I have to give? And I'm not just talking spiritually. That was just an example. Anything, your creativity, your knowledge, your wisdom, your skill sets. You can be really doing a review as a result of this eclipse in how you value yourself and what you will and will not stand for in terms of remuneration for what you have to give to the world. I'm also seeing an important turning point arriving for you guys with how self-sufficient you can be. I'm delighted about this as a Pisces rising person. Bring it on. I want a new beginning where I can be self-sufficient and don't have to depend on outside sources for energy, for food, for all that sort of. I'm very big into that, as most of you who follow me know. So there might be an important turning point with your ability to be self-sufficient, not only with those practical things, but also with the income that you make. There can be an important turning point with how self-sufficient you can be financially now. Maybe running your own business or, a side hustle that turns into a full-time job or something like that can happen as a result of this eclipse, an important turning point. There can also be a turning point with regard to your financial situation. I feel that this eclipse could bring in new financial opportunities that you didn't see coming, Pisces. So keep your eyes peeled now. Keep your eyes open for the opportunities that the universe is going to present you for financial benefit. Don't let them pass you by. Remember, the god of great wealth, Pluto, is doing an interactive piece there with this eclipse, and there could be great wealth available to you in some way, Pisces. Usually though, with second house things, it's how you feel within about what you deserve manifests what you receive on the external. That's one of the key components that we look at when we look at the second house. So change how you value yourself and what you have to give to the world, and you'll change what you start to receive back from the world. I would also suggest that this eclipse is a time for trusting your intuition regarding what feels safe and what feels secure now, where to invest your money. For example, I've recently put a fireplace into my home, and it was quite expensive a thing to do, but with gas prices going the way they are, I'm like, I don't want to be paying exorbitant gas prices to heat my home and keep my family warm in the winter. Plus, I'm very blessed to have a family farm where I can collect wood. So with that in mind, I've put in a fireplace. It's cost me a lot of money, but I felt such a sense of, about this decision. Like, this is the right decision. This is a good decision. This helps me feel safe and secure knowing I can keep my family warm this coming winter here in Australia. So trust, that's an example of trusting your gut feel, your intuition regarding what feels safe and secure. This eclipse will highlight that gut feeling, that intuition. So listen to it, don't ignore it, don't suppress it. Trust what feels safe and secure to you now under the influence of this eclipse. It will not lead you astray. Now, Pisces, that's the end of our YouTube analysis. For further full details on what is happening for your sign, where I go into great detail, get the entire report at the Patreon family. The link's in the description below. And now for our Patreon family members who are watching this, let's dive in deeper for Pisces. All right, thank you, Pisces. Now let's move along to Aquarius. Aquarius rising, Aquarius sun, or Aquarius moon. Well, the eclipse is falling in your third house in whole sign astrology, my beautiful Aquarian friends. This could bring you a lot of changes and new beginnings with how you see the world in your mental perspective. So you might have a certain impression of this is how the world works, and this is what people do, and this is what people think, and then something happens, some event occurs, and you're like, whoa, hang on, I think I've had it wrong all this time. The wool's pulled from your eyes, and you can see the truth. Our mental perspective, third house, can change big time with an eclipse falling in the third house. We can also have massive intuitive hunches, big psychic downloads now, where we just have this inner knowing that's heightened because of an eclipse. So trust your hunches, trust any downloads that you're getting, trust any goosebump moments that you might have around the time of the eclipse. It won't be leading you astray. It will be a message from the divine. Now, this is also the house of our brothers, sisters, neighbors, relatives, and there might be a sudden and unexpected change in the dynamic with a sibling or a relative or a neighbor. A change in the connection. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean a falling out, but it could mean maybe you've lived in the same town as your sister all your life, and suddenly you have an opportunity to go, get a promotion and move to a different place, and the dynamic that you've had with your sister has to therefore change because you're not going to be, close and accessible to one another. So some sort of sudden change, some sort of new beginning that might happen with a sibling, a relative, or a neighbor. There could also be some sort of significant turning point with a relative or a neighbor or a sibling as well. Maybe you've been in a state of, standoff with a neighbor, and something happens and it's like, look, let's just forgive and forget. Let's just, call bygones be bygones, come around for a barbecue tomorrow night. It could be like that. Some important turning point comes your way. You might be feeling very passionate over something to do with the third house, passionate over a new skill that you're learning, or maybe you're learning Kung Fu or something, and it's like, where's this been all my life? I'm loving this, and you get passionate. This is a very passionate eclipse, as we've already explored, and some new skill set, some new talent, even a new business idea here in the third house. There's a house of small business. You might get a new business idea and you're like, whoa, I'm going to run with this. This is where, I've been missing this all my life. This is what I want to do. This is what I'm going to make money from. And you're like, yes, away you go. Entrepreneurial business ideas amplified big time. A house of good news. You might receive some good news, Aquarius. Something that comes to you that's going to change your whole life, and you receive it in an email, or, somebody sends you a card in the mail or something, traditional mail or something like that. Some message arrives that brings hope and enthusiasm and change into your world. So lots of good things are available for our Aquarius friends. Now, in ancient astrology, the third house was the natural house of the moon. And it was, an indicator when the moon was in the third house in a natal chart that this person was like a messenger of the gods when the moon was in the third house natally. Now, it's here by transit for you Aquarian people in a big way with this eclipse. It is possible that many of you Aquarian people will receive a message from the gods, but it's not something to keep to yourself. It's something you need to share. So if you feel inspired to write a blog post, to write a journal article, to write a book, to teach a workshop, to jump on YouTube and make a statement about something, don't ignore it. This eclipse could bring you a message from the gods for all humanity. And so the universe is counting on you to be that purveyor of the message. Keep your eyes and ears open during eclipse season because that message might come through to you loud and clear. Now, if you want to know more about what's happening for your sign, Aquarius, you can get the entire report for $5 only at the Patreon family link. The link's in the description below. Come and join me for a month and get all sorts of wonderful astrological goodies and videos. And for any Patreon members who are watching this, we're now going to go in deeper with our analysis of how this is affecting the sign of Aquarius. Thank you, Aquarius. All right, now Capricorn rising, Capricorn sun, Capricorn moon people. You're going to stay there for me. Thank you, Capricorn. So this eclipse on the 20th of April, this new moon eclipse in Aries, is affecting your fourth house down here, bottom of the horoscope. And this is where you might be experiencing some sort of sudden changes and new beginnings or an important turning point occurring in your life. And your deepest passions that have probably been hidden from you are likely to be exposed or rise to the surface as a result of this eclipse as well. And let's just focus in on that topic for a second. This is the house of our deepest emotions. So you're going to, I just feel for you Capricorn people, you're known as, people who are quite, reserved. That's a Capricorn energy, but maybe for the first time in your life or, for a very rare occurrence, your deepest emotions are going to be stirred, Capricorn. You're going to have deep feelings about something that come to the surface now. And, that might be a bit disconcerting for you, as a Capricorn person. Maybe you're not used to feeling things so passionately, so deeply, so, life-changingly. So be prepared for that. Be prepared for a lot of emotional confrontation within you, a lot of emotional sensitivity that's going to really be heightened in your life. You could also expect with this eclipse, my beautiful Capricorn friends, some sudden changes in the family dynamic. Maybe, you're a 24-year-old and you're like, you know what? I need to move out and I need to live on my own. I need my own space. Been living with mum and dad way too long. I need to own my own life. And so that brings a sudden change into the family dynamic. Suddenly, you're going to go find an apartment and live by yourself. So sudden changes in that example, but there's obviously a bazillion examples I could give of a changing family dynamic that arrives as a result of the eclipse. You will be feeling very psychic and very emotionally intuitive because of this rising up of emotional sensitivity. So I would suggest, Capricorn, trust your intuition, trust any downloads that you're getting, any sort of messages from the divine that you're getting, particularly about your family or your parents. If you've got a sixth sense about something, it's most likely going to be correct. Trust it now. Trust your emotions. This eclipse is heightening your emotional receptivity. You might also be having some sort of a turning point, Capricorn, with a maternal figure, with a mother. So that could mean changing residences, moving away from a mother. Not a falling out, but a shift in how you relate. This eclipse can bring that sort of a change. It can also bring a sudden turning point with a garden. Maybe you've been struggling to establish a veggie patch or something, you're wanting to make your own food or whatever, grow your own food, and just can't get that veggie patch to work. And then suddenly there's a turning point. You find out, I've got to put more compost on the soil. now everything's growing and flourishing. There's a turning point with a garden. There's a turning point with a home or a domestic situation or where you're living. So this is an eclipse that for many people who are Capricorn might see you moving home or changing how you live in some way. Big shifts, big changes regarding these fourth house things. Some of you might even decide as a result of this eclipse to put your house on the market. Some of you might get an offer for your home even though it wasn't even for sale. An offer just comes in out of the blue and you're like, yes, please, thank you very much. I'll sell my home for that amount of money. You know, there could be some very significant shift with land, property, home, garden, domestic situation, or family life. That is the key for our Capricorn friends. Now, Capricorn, if you want more details, and I go into great depth about the influence of this eclipse on you, if you want more details about this, all you've got to do is join the Patreon family. You can join for as long or as little as you like. It's $5 to join for a month. The link's in the description below. Patreon members who are watching this, come on, let's go. It's time to dive deeper. Thank you, Capricorn. Moving on now to Sagittarius. Sagittarius rising, sun or moon people. Well, the energy of the eclipse is falling in a wonderful area of your chart, Sagittarius, in the 5th house. And this is happening on the 20th of April. So for our Sagittarius friends, we can expect sudden changes and new beginnings to do with 5th house themes in our life. It's an important turning point with 5th house themes. And of course, the 5th house has to do with romance. And when this Saros cycle of eclipses is so sensual and sexual, oh my God, romance just, goes off the Richter scale. It's like romance to the max, romance and passion and desire and sex to the extreme. So if you're in a situation, Sagittarius, where over the duration of the eclipse season, you're going to have a sexual encounter or a rendezvous or a tete-a-tete, oh my God, it's going to be mind-blowing for you. It's going to be so beautiful. It's a gift from the divine. Sagittarius, you are so lucky. How wonderful. You will possibly also be confronted through that sexual tete-a-tete with your own deep passions. And it could bring up for many of you Sagittarius people something from a past life that has been repressed. Maybe your sexual drive or passion has been squashed in this life through some reason or another. Lo and behold, with this Saros cycle, it could now exhibit in a way that just moves you in a very spiritual sense because it's healing some past life wound and it's creating good karma. 5th house is good karma, as it heals a past life wound to sexuality and passion and sensuality. It could be very confronting. It could be quite overwhelming for you, Sagittarius, but overwhelming in the best, most beautiful, most liberating possible way. So, so lovely. Now, for some of you Sagittarius people, there could be a change in dynamic with a boyfriend or a girlfriend or a live-in lover. Some people, as a result of this eclipse, might separate, but remember, if that happens, it's designed to take you further into your destiny. North Node eclipse. So it's designed to, take you more into your purpose. So trust it and allow the universe to unfold what needs to unfold, knowing that, if a separation happens under an eclipse energy, you're very unlikely to ever get back together again. So allow what needs to unfold. Some of you might meet a partner for the first time, might meet a boyfriend, might meet a girlfriend. Maybe you've met online or something and you've got to know each other, and maybe you're going to have your first date. In that sense, it could be incredibly passionate and incredibly beautiful, and a gift that might last for a lifetime as it changes your karmic past to be something more in alignment with your destiny. So yes, some people might separate from a boyfriend or girlfriend. Some people might meet a new lover, a new boyfriend, new girlfriend. That could happen as well. If you are in a relationship and it's steady and it's solid and it's good, then I see this just taking you to a deepened state of passion with your relationship. But yes, for many people, there might be something that suddenly occurs that provides a turning point in a relationship, a love relationship, a romantic relationship. I also feel that this eclipse could bring about unexpected opportunities that you didn't see coming, where you can show off your natural creativity, your natural talent. take it. Enter into that art show, that theatre production, that film role, you know, if you get the opportunity. Show up and shine, I would say, with an eclipse occurring in the house of celebrity, popularity, in the house of creativity and creative intelligence. I mean, you could just have so many blessings with your own skills and talents and abilities, my beautiful Sagittarius friends. This is a house of luck as well. And as you can see, this eclipse energy is it's not within 5-degree orb, but it's not too far from Jupiter here as well. I mean, my God, you guys could get so lucky as a result of this eclipse. You might win some kind of a prize. You might get an opportunity to step up in the world and be seen more, and have some sort of recognition as a result of this eclipse energy. You might, you might get a chance to really shine in your career. Sun often has to do with career. So you might really get a chance to shine in career as well, Sagittarius, as a result of what this eclipse brings you. The solar eclipses have to do with men, because the solar is the male energy and the moon is the feminine. So a man it might pave the way for some sort of rise in celebrity for you now, some sort of opportunity to be seen and noticed that comes from a man saying, here, I'm going to give you this opportunity, or why don't you come and speak at this conference, or I want to give you a promotion, or whatever. So a man could be very influential in that way. Finally, Sagittarius people on YouTube, there's going to be more for my Patreon family, but finally for the YouTube viewers, there might be some romantic gesture that surprises you now, somebody wearing their heart on their sleeve that just sweeps you off your feet. So lots of blessing, lots of new beginnings with romance. Oh, and I should add children as well. It might be that you are starting some sort of new dynamic with children. It could be your own children. It could be just other people's children in general. There might be some new beginning in a dynamic that you have with children, particularly teenage children. Teenage children are usually seen through the 5th house. So you might be having a new experience with children, or a changing in dynamic with children that might be part of your purpose, part of your destiny in some way. So it could be your children or someone else's children, but something important turning point is occurring with regard to children and your relationship to children in your life. Now, Sagittarius, that's all I've got for the YouTube viewers out there, but if you would like more information, and we go greatly in depth about other dynamics that are exhibiting through this eclipse, to get the entire report, simply scoot over to the Patreon page, links in the description below. All it costs is $5 for 1 month's membership, and you get access to all sorts of videos and goodies. So it's really good value, plus you'll get the extended eclipse report here. And for my Patreon family members watching this, let's dive in deeper now. Thank you, Sagittarius. All right, Scorpio, get ready. Here we go with what the eclipse is bringing you. We will when I can stop the board going for a walk. Okay, so the eclipse is falling in your 6th house, Scorpio. So what does this mean? Well, it means there's going to be an important turning point in your life regarding a problem, regarding a difficulty, regarding a confrontation or a source of frustration in your life. So how wonderful. This eclipse might see resolution occurring, some sort of change, some sort of blessing that alleviates a problem, alleviates some sort of imbalance or difficulty in your life, sudden changes. I would also suggest that you're going to be more sensitized to the pain of others under this eclipse. You will feel like other people's suffering at a deeper level because of the intensity and the feeling and the emotion that is in this Saros cycle of the eclipse in the house of other people's suffering as well as your own. You might find that though there might be a rise in confrontational situations, it is happening in order to progress you into your destiny, to sort that shit out and move into a feeling of freedom from confrontation, freedom from difficulty. So that said, you might need to protect your energy under this eclipse. Raise your vibration. Have a plan to do so. For those of you who don't know how to raise your Scorpio vibration, it's about, doing what feels good to you, making whatever makes you feel happy. That could be dancing. It could be reading wonderful books. It could be going for a bike ride. It could be sitting in your favorite cafe with a beautiful latte or something. Whatever lifts you up and gives you joy. Have a plan. When I'm feeling like I'm freaking out here, okay, I'm going to go and have a soak in the bath with a glass of wine. Have a plan that brings more balance into your life under this eclipse energy, which could be a little bit disconcerting for my Scorpio friends. Now, because the sun is exalted in the sign of Aries, this is a blessing. And we've talked about the dynamics of this eclipse conjunct with Alrisha, and, being that the sun is very powerful in Aries, that you might have the ability to win over an issue. Certainly when we have a malefic planet in Vedic astrology, and the sun's actually considered to be a malefic planet in Vedic astrology, a malefic planet in a malefic house cancels out the problem. And so having this, amplified energy here in the 6th house means you might win over a health issue, over a court issue, over difficult people that you've been battling with, over a debt. There's a real turning point available to you that will come under this eclipse energy into your life. So by that I mean there will be an event, an event that happens that helps you win over those situations of difficulty. I would also suggest that with an eclipse occurring in the 6th house, there might be a change in circumstance or a new beginning with a family pet or some domestic animal of some sort as well. So you might might adopt a pet that comes into your life, or you might have a stray cat turn up on your door and you give it a home and it's your friend for life. So some important new beginning with an animal or a pet. I would also say that you might be starting something new with regard to a health regime or a diet or exercise, but you'll be prompted to do so by an event that unfolds during the eclipse activation season. Now, this is a house of self-medication as well. Self-soothing rather, not self-medication, self-soothing. And of course, self-medication can be a form of self-soothing. So what this might indicate is that if you have deep passions, remember I talked about this in the Saros cycle, if you have deep passions that are coming to the surface now and they're overwhelming you, just be careful of self-soothing yourself in unhealthy ways to deal with those deep passions. There's a way to deal with deep emotional energy coming to the surface that's healthy. Journaling, meditating, introspecting, taking time to just think and sit and be with your feelings, observing them, allowing them, letting them flow through you and move on. Many ways that we can deal with deep passions that are rising to the surface. Try and be conscious in your avoidance of drinking to forget those deep passions or to drown out those deep passions, or other sort of self-soothing mechanisms that are unhealthy at this time, Scorpio. Be aware, be conscious, and you can't go wrong. You can make the most of this particular energy. Now, that's all I want to share with my YouTube family about the energy for Scorpio. But if you would like to know more, I go into great depth. There's a massive video on my Patreon family where I go into, really deep dive for all signs. If you want to do that and join the Patreon family, it's $5 a month. You get all sorts of astrological goodies and heaps of videos that you can access. The link is in the description below. You can find out more. Now for my Patreon members who are watching this, let's go. Let's dive deeper. Thank you, Scorpio. Okay, lovely Librans, you're up next. Libra rising, Libra sun, and Libra moon people. All right, well, the energy of this solar eclipse is falling on the relationship axis, very important axis for Libran people who are very concerned about connection and partnership and relationship. Here it's falling in the 7th house of partnership. So this is where, Librans, you can expect sudden change and new beginnings with a relationship or a relationship dynamic. For example, I am a Libra moon and I've been single for 12 years. Who knows? This eclipse could bring into my life some sort of new beginning where suddenly that dynamic of my relationship status ends and maybe a new partnership begins as a result of this eclipse in my 7th house. So sudden changes and new beginnings can occur for Libran people with regard to relationships. So an important turning point is arriving with relationships. So it could be personal relationships, or it could be business partnerships, or it could be both. So relationships that have not been working well, they can see a big shift in dynamic that can take you more into the positive. So remember, the Saros cycle for this eclipse, as I described in the beginning, is all about deep passion, sexuality and sensuality. If you've got a good relationship that's going on in your life, it could go like just to the next level where, you know, it is ecstatic and beautiful and wonderful. Yay, Libra, what a lovely gift that would be. Now, if you're in a relationship already, one that is strained, then it's likely that the eclipse might break it apart. And I would add, especially if this is falling anywhere near the descendant, it could bring a lot of strain to a less than happy relationship. Just be aware of that. But it's an important, if that's what occurs, it's an important turning point that needs to happen to take you further into your destiny. Maybe your destiny is to meet the love of your life and that person that you're with is not. Maybe it's an important turning point that is going to allow you to learn to stand on your own 2 feet and be independent in some way. Maybe it's an important turning point that is going to allow you to break free of an abusive situation. Whatever it is, if the relationship has not been healthy, then this eclipse might be the turning point that breaks it apart. If you've been walking on eggshells, you've got to ask yourself, is this really the relationship I need to be in anyway? Very definitely for many Librans, in some way, shape or form, a relational turning point. It can indicate also, like I've talked about, good relationships, bad relationships, singleness. It can indicate suddenly falling in love with someone in a sudden, shocking, but amazingly passionate, deeply sexual and sensual way now. So very, very powerful for Libra rising sun or moon people to experience that. The sexuality could be, like I said, just off the charts, which can always be wonderful, I think. Now, on other topics pertaining to the 7th house, this is a house of contracts. It might be some contract that you're particularly passionate about that you'll be offered right now. I would hesitate to sign any contract under an eclipse energy because eclipses are wild cards. While we can do our best as astrologers to predict, you can never be 100% certain which way they're going to flip-flop. In the Vedic mythology, the nodes represent a snake or a dragon cut in half, and I've seen plenty of snakes cut in half, and my God, you want to stand far back. You don't know which way they're going to jump and whether they might bite you. When they've been cut in half, they wriggle for a time afterwards. Anyway, I don't need to go into all the gory details. But that said, with eclipses, it's the same deal. You don't know which way it's going to flip-flop. I would avoid signing any contracts or commitments until after the eclipse activation season is over. And that doesn't happen until the middle of May, okay? So forewarned, forearmed there. But some of you might find that if you are dealing with court cases or doing any kind of negotiations or mediations with business or lawyers or something, that you can have a successful outcome as a result of the eclipse. So there can be blessing that comes because the sun is exalted in Aries for a start. There can be blessing that comes with any kind of negotiation situation or court case, etc. So yeah, opportunity in that regard can be quite a blessing. So that's really all I have for you, my YouTube Librans. Thank you so much for joining me for this evaluation of what's happening for your sign. If you would like to know more, and I'm going to go greatly in depth with a lot of other detail that I haven't mentioned here, all you got to do to join us is to join the Patreon family. It's $5 a month. You get access to all a back catalogue of videos, plus regular videos every month. You can join for as long as you like, one week if you want, 1 month, although, if you pay your $5, it gives you access for a month. But, join for as little or as long as you like and find out what else is happening as a result of this eclipse in your life. And for my Patreon members, let's do a deep dive, guys. Let's find out what else is going on. Thank you, Libra. Okay, Virgo, the moment you've all been waiting for your rising sun or moon sign. If you have Virgo, the eclipse will be falling in your 8th house. What an interesting house to be having an eclipse in, guys. So here's the eclipse in your 8th house in whole sign astrology. Of all the houses to have this eclipse in, this is an eclipse, as I've said, where there's an important turning point arriving, where you can expect sudden changes, brand new beginnings. And oh my God, double whammy of that in the 8th house of rebirth, renewal, transformation. So you are really going to be transformed as a result of this eclipse, especially if it's falling with any planets in the 8th house or at a manifestation point. One thing that might be the result of this eclipse is that you might get amazing intuitive downloads happening now, where suddenly, you've got those goosebumps, tingles all over your body. Trust them. Premonitions, prophetic influences, inner knowing. It is all on now for Virgo people. Trust yourself with an eclipse occurring in your 8th house. You might also find that there might be men in your life, because the sun, who is the key indicator in a solar eclipse, the sun has to do with men. And the 8th house can be a very healing house. Some man may be a source of healing for you now. They might advise you, go and see this naturopath, and it changes your life. Or some man might give you an opportunity and it changes your life circumstance. Maybe they give you a promotion, or a man gives you a shamanic advice or something, and it just helps balance your soul in some way. So some man might be a source of healing in some manner for you in your life. But more than anything, this is a big season of change, of rebirth, of regeneration for you. My beautiful Virgo friends, your life is about to change in such a remarkable way. This is a real turning point with your identity, with the way you show up in the world, with your presence. This changes everything. This is a rebirthing for you, a renewal for you. Now, that could bring a lot of emotional upheaval, like a roller coaster, and roller coaster rides I find quite fun, but it could be up and down. One moment you're on top of the roller coaster, the next you're down. Don't worry, hang on for the ride with this eclipse, especially over the next 6 months. If you've been in that sort of up and down state during this eclipse season, then you're just going to have to ride it out as best you can. But ultimately, you're going to be reborn. And the way you're going to be reborn is beautiful, because, the sun is exalted in Aries here, conjunct fixed star Alrisha. And, really it's a powerful eclipse of passion as well. So what you're passionate about is likely to come to the surface, and it's going to help transform you. Now let's talk a little bit about that. The Saros cycle is so passionate. It's going to cause you to confront some deep passion. So any skeletons that you have hidden in the closet that you know about, they're going to rattle their chains now. They're going to be rattling away in the cupboard, and you are going to have to open that door and deal with those old skeletons. Now that could be very, very psychologically confronting for you to do so, but I encourage you, do not avoid it. This eclipse wants you to clear out that skeleton out of the cupboard so that you can move more into your destiny. So if that happens, do the work. I hate that term, but, do the psychological work, read the spiritual books, or get help from a shaman or an astrologer or naturopath or some sort of alternative healer, Reiki healer or a acupuncturist or something. Somebody who can help you deal with blocked emotions, fears, trust issues, all of these 8th house concerns. They could be going right back into your past lives, and you have an opportunity with this eclipse to clear out that skeleton and free yourself. Don't deny it. It's a gift to be able to do this, okay? It's an absolute gift. Now, this is the house of sex and passion and intensity, and this is a very sexual, passionate, and intense eclipse. Oh my God, my beautiful friends. Get your jiggy on, go and find that lover and plan a romantic rendezvous. Go away for a dirty weekend. Use this energy to your advantage and for your blessing. This is just amplifying, the sexuality of this eclipse is so amplified for you, Virgo, here in the 8th house. Please make the most of it, because it could actually be a divine source of healing. Sexuality, tantra, it is a gift from the gods. I spoke about this in the introduction. It is a gift from the gods that can transform our lives when we approach it with the right heart, the right mindset, with the state of love. It is such a blessing. Why do you think all these evil MFers in top positions make sex so dirty and use it for evil ritual practices? Why do you think they do that? Because there's power in sex. So my God, Virgo, we need to really start using this energy for the blessing, for manifestation, and for good. Never has there been an opportunity like this eclipse cycle, this Saros cycle, for you Virgo people, especially in the 8th house, to use sexual energy to manifest what you want in your life and to lift your vibration to a higher state of being. Go for it, my friends. And if you need to do some research and look into sexual manifestation or sex as an act of vibration raising, tantra, etc., do it now. Make the most of this eclipse energy that could really transform your life in a powerful, powerful way, bringing manifestation and bringing blessing. So I just really, sorry, I got very passionate about that, but it does bother me greatly how abused our sexuality as human beings has been by, you know, those at the top, when really it's a source of power. It is a source of power for humanity, and they've dirtied it, they've cheapened it, they've made it into horrible rituals for their own benefit, while we miss out on all the blessing that beautiful sexuality, true sexuality, healing sexuality can actually bring us. One of these days I will do a video on, I probably will do it for my Patreon page on sexuality in the horoscope, and I'll put some great books on this topic in that video. I might do that in the coming months, actually, as I think of it now. But yes, that's what I'm seeing for our beautiful Virgo friends that could manifest and be of influence on their lives because of this eclipse. Now, if you want some more details, really deep dive into the 8th house details of this particular eclipse, and believe me, it's phenomenal, then get the entire report for your sign at the Patreon family page. The link's in the description below. It only costs $5 a month. You can join for as long or as little as you like, and it's a great blessing, so do check it out. Now, for my Patreon family members who are watching this, time for our deep dive into what else is happening for Virgo rising, sun or moon. Alrighty, thank you, my lovely Virgos. Now for Leo rising, Leo sun, Leo moon. Well, this eclipse, my lovely Leos, is falling for you in the 9th house, the house of blessing. So what does this mean? Well, it's where we might expect some sudden changes and new beginnings arriving in your life, important turning points that arrive in your life. It's where sexuality and sensuality is heightened, and we're confronted by deep passions as well. I'm excited. I'm a Leo. I'm excited by this eclipse. Bring it on. So there could be a significant turning point that arrives in your life with some outdated belief system that you've carried. It's time, Leo, to broaden your horizons. Some event is going to happen that takes you beyond your limitations, broadens your ethics, broadens your morals, broadens your horizons in some way. Something is going to happen that does that for you as a result of this eclipse. You might even find, Leo, that you must travel under this eclipse energy, and it is going to be empowering, life-altering, a real turning point for you in some way. You're going to be blessed. I'm relieved about this because I'm traveling under this eclipse, so yay, bring it on. What a blessing to have this eclipse occurring in the 9th house of blessing and travel and broadening of horizons. There can also be, for many Leo people, a brand new beginning in association with another culture now. So you might, you might start a business association with somebody in another country, and you do trading with them or something like that. Or you might start teaching people from another country or working with people in another culture in some way. You might even, for some of you, because this is such a passionate and sexualized eclipse, you might start a relationship with somebody who's a foreigner or from another country as well. There might be a new beginning or a turning point with somebody who's a teacher or an inspirational figure in your life, or even somebody who takes the role of a father figure might enter into your life too. This is a house of prophecy, one of the houses of prophecy, and so you might find that your intuition is really heightened under this eclipse. Trust your hunches, trust your gut instinct, listen to that still small voice, because it won't lead you astray. It is really amplified, and it's going to show you and guide you here in the house of blessing with this eclipse. Now, as I said, the Saros cycle is a very passionate one, and if you're a Leo person who is looking for the second life partner, this is the house of the second life partner in Western astrology. if you're looking for your second life partner, this eclipse could activate a passionate encounter with a second life partner, my Leo friends. Some sexual rendezvous, or maybe you meet a partner for the first time and it turns out to be a soulmate or the love of your life. That Pluto influence brings soulmates in, very intense relationships, and even to the point sometimes that it gets a bit obsessive relationships. So just be conscious of that. But here in the house of the second life partner, the promise for our Leo friends who are looking for a new relationship is quite beautiful, quite a blessing. I would also suggest, my Leo friends, that there might be some very deep passions that come to the surface now, but it's blessing. Why is it blessing? Because this is the house of, one of the two houses of past life blessing. There are other houses of past life karma, but this is one of the houses of past life blessing. So if you have had past lives where you have done right by your fellow man or honored yourself in some way and been honorable and noble and integrous and all those good things, then this eclipse could be bringing to the surface some deep feelings and passions that are actually good karma coming back to you. Or maybe you had a relationship with somebody, for example's sake, in a many past lives ago, and there is a reconnection that is beautiful and deep and meaningful now under this Saros cycle, bringing up these deep passions that you haven't known yet in this lifetime, that bring forward some sort of good blessing and good energy into a relationship. Or it could be just a good circumstance, like a feeling of blessing, a feeling of a deep delight, deep joy in a mission or a purpose or some meaning in life. The ninth house is our mission. The ninth house is our purpose and our dharma. You might get a passion arising in you about a purpose, about a mission, about a meaning. This eclipse could illuminate that for you now. So pay attention to your hunches and your drives and your inner emotions now that come up passionately and deeply in your life. So Leo, that's all I've got for my YouTube family, but there's so much more available for those of you who are Patreon family members. If you want to join the Patreon family and do a deeper dive into what this astrological phenomenon might be bringing you, then simply join me at the Patreon family. Links in the description below. It's only $5 a month and you get all sorts of astrological goodies, access to a massive back catalogue of videos all about astrology, monthly moon reports and forecasts. It is a winner. Join me there if you want to know more about what this eclipse is doing for you. And for my Patreon family members who are watching this, let's dive deeper. All right, Cancer rising, Cancer sun, Cancer moon people, the energy of, let's see if that's going to stay. The energy of this eclipse is impacting your 10th house. This is an angular house, so you'll feel it very strongly. This is where you can expect sudden changes and new beginnings. And of course, this is the house of career. So Cancer, hang on to your hat. Career might be taking a transformation now. There's an important, get my words out, important turning point with career now. So that might look like, you getting a new opportunity to take your career into a new realm. It might look for some people like the losing of a career. But if that should happen, remember, this is with the North Node. It's about going into your destiny point, destiny and purpose for being here in this incarnation. So if you do lose a career or you walk away from a career, it's to fulfill some other purpose and mission that your life has. The universe has got your back. Don't worry about that. But there is an important turning point of you aligning more with your mission and your purpose when it comes to career. So expect sudden changes and new beginnings, maybe a new role in your career circumstances, maybe a new career altogether, but whatever happens, it's for the greater good. This is also the axis of our parents, particularly a father figure and also a mother-in-law we see from the 10th house as well. So their lives might be about to change significantly as a result of the eclipse. They might be going through a particular turning point, or you might have a passionate exchange of some sort. Remember, this is a very passionate Saros cycle, a very emotional interaction with a father figure or a mother-in-law as well that might arise under the influence of this eclipse. This is the house of authority figures, and particularly when it's a solar eclipse, a male authority figure And it's possible that this eclipse with an exalted sun in the 10th house might catapult you into some sort of greater worldly success and recognition by a man who's in a position of authority, and some authority figure that's a masculine energy, moving you into greater recognition, building your reputation in some way, and putting you out there for the world to see. So some male authority figure could do something very favorable and significant in your life. There is likely to be, for many Cancer people, the opportunity for a new position of leadership that might arise. Now, that could be leadership in a career, or you might be asked to lead the local scouts group or something. But this indicates that this is going to be very advantageous for the long term for you. It's like a turning point with regard to leadership. One way of doing career or one way of doing leadership is kind of moving aside so that you can do something new and obtain success in a new way. Some of you Cancer people might even discover under this eclipse influence the career of your dreams. Finally, you know what you want to do, what your soul has always been, where you're wanting to head with your worldly achievements and your worldly aspirations. So listen to your soul, listen to what your gut is telling you, especially during the eclipse activation period. But there's likely to be an event that happens that reveals this to you. Remember, this solar eclipse has always happened with something on the outside affecting how we feel inside. So it's externally driven. Some of you Cancer people might have a much more heightened sensitivity to your public image and reputation now. So do watch out for gossip, Cancer. There might be some difficult news that comes to light that's affecting your reputation. But because of the exaltation of the sun in the 10th house, I think you absolutely have what it takes to overcome any gossipy difficulties or any sort of bullets that are fired at your reputation and good name. So don't worry too much about that. I think you have got what it takes to override and overcome any of those upheavals that the eclipse might bring you. So that's what I'm seeing for my Cancer rising sun or moon friends here on YouTube. If you want to know more about what's happening for Cancer people, and I go into great depth, then join me at the Patreon family. The link's in the description below. It's $5 a month, and for that you get access to the whole back catalogue of massive list of astrology videos, plus regular forecasts each month for the new moon and the full moon, and a bonus astrology video if you join at the bronze star level. Join me, find out what else is in store for you with this eclipse. And for my Patreon members watching this video on the Patreon page, let's dive deeper into what's happening for Cancer. Now, moving on to my gorgeous Gemini rising, Gemini sun, Gemini moon people. Well, the energy of this eclipse is impacting your 11th house, Gemini, and this is where you're going to experience sudden changes and new beginnings as a result of the eclipse, and it's happening in your house of friendship. So there's going to be some important turning points. Speaking of turning, my wobbly old board, important turning points for you with regard to friendships, connections, socialization, and networking. So there is going to be a changing of dynamic with friends, maybe one friend in particular, or maybe a group of friends. A friend might be leaving your life now for some reason or another, but I wouldn't fret, I wouldn't worry, because what this eclipse is doing is designed to create energetic space for new friendships to come in and fill your life instead. So that could be exciting and could be fun, and it doesn't mean that you're never going to be friends with the old friends again. It just means something's shifting. The energy's changing. You're moving more into your purpose with your social connections, more into your soul's desire. So there's a turning point with friendships. There's a turning point perhaps also with regard to the goals that you've set in the past. What was worthy of you chasing after in the old days might not be where you're heading now, and you might go through a process under this eclipse of throwing out an old dream or an old goal, realizing with groundedness that that's not for you anymore, and you might be creating a whole new set of ambitions based on some sudden inspiration that comes to you, some intuitive download that the eclipse gives you, or a circumstance that triggers you into knowing, okay, that's not for me anymore, now I want that. So, keep your eyes peeled. An opportunity might present itself for you to strive after a brand new goal or dream. My beautiful Gemini friends, this could also, this is the house with an older sibling, and it's likely that something might be unfolding in the life of your older sibling that could cause a lot of upheaval for them. So check in, make sure they're doing okay, see if there's any way you can be there for an older sibling. But I do feel that this is also indicating a turning point for you in the dynamic of the relationship you have with your older sibling as well. Maybe you've always been close, but maybe this eclipse brings a time when you're going to have to, go live on opposite ends of the country or something like that. So that can unfold. Trust that the universe has the best in mind, no matter how it plays out for you. I do feel that this eclipse will bring you the right people at the right time, probably a masculine person because the sun is the significant luminary here. Some man, young man, old man, who will help you with your dreams and goals now, my beautiful Gemini. Somebody who will help you generate more gainfulness in your life. You might meet them now, or you might have already known them for a long time, but any interactions had with a man during this eclipse season can prove to be very financially beneficial going forward into the long term, especially over the next 6 months, my friends. You might be very sensitized to interactions with such people and interactions with your friends at this time. That's okay. Just recognize that this eclipse is going to heighten your emotional reactions and responses to certain things. Don't be too judgy towards yourself if you get upset about something or if you're sensitized about something. It's just the nature of this eclipse being quite powerful, emotionally charged kind of eclipse. So recognize that your friends might be emotionally charged up and passionate at this time as well. Don't be going, I hate the way they're always ranting about XYZ. It's just the energy of the eclipse affecting your friends with a passionate nature and a passionate vibe. So tolerance, patience, love and acceptance is quite key to riding out this eclipse activation period in the best possible way. Now, that's all I'm going to share for my Gemini friends here on YouTube, but I do share so much more over on the Patreon family video. You can get the entire Patreon family report at the Patreon family page. Links in the description below. It's only $5 a month, and for that you get access to the whole back catalogue plus 2 forecasts each month and an extra astrology teaching video. My patrons just love it, and I love being there for my Patreon family. So do come join us there, find out more about what's going to happen for you as a result of this eclipse. And now for my Patreon family members who are watching this, let's dive deeper into Gemini. Thank you, Gemini. And moving on, thank you for waiting till last, my beautiful Taurus rising, sun or moon people. We are exploring the eclipse and it is falling in your 12th house. And this eclipse on the 20th of April, what a fantastic eclipse it's going to be. Hang on to your hat though. It's falling in your 12th house, Taurus. This is where you might get some psychic downloads that could absolutely blow your mind. Your dreams could be very prophetic. Don't discount anything that comes through to you now. In your daydreams and your night dreams and your visions, there are messages coming through from your ancestors, from your spirit guides, from the divine. They want to speak to you. This eclipse opens up a portal of access to this kind of other dimensional understanding and knowledge. So there's never been a better time if you want to do a past life regression or connect with somebody like a channeler or a medium, to talk with somebody on the other side. This is great energy for that kind of behavior, those kind of activities. Also, one of the key things, Taurus, is that this energy can be a turning point in your life regarding healing from something from your past, an old habit, an old belief, some behavior pattern that you wish you didn't have, maybe some childhood trauma or a psychological wound. This eclipse could absolutely change everything for you, because this eclipse is an exalted sun in Aries in the house of past lives, and this eclipse, as we know, represents a turning point and a big change. Some turning point and big change from some past life old or early this life old chestnut that keeps popping up and annoying you, bringing you down. So healing can occur in that regard. For some people, there'll be miraculous healing. This is the house of miraculous healing. The divine touches our life in some way and we're never the same. Because this is the house where our ancestors who have passed on and our spirit guides can reach out and touch us, influence us. And so I would suggest, Taurus, if you are suffering in any way, if you're grappling with some psychological issue or something, pray. Pray to your spirit guides, pray to your ancestors, ask for the touch of the divine to heal you. And this is where miracles can occur, especially under an empowered eclipse like this one. Finally, Taurus, I want to just mention that this eclipse might bring you the need to rest and escape. And that's okay. It's a highly charged eclipse. The energies are very intense. Our emotionality will be really amplified because of the Saros cycle of this eclipse. So you're probably in the 12th house going to need to take some time out. Rest, sleep, escape in healthy ways. You know all the healthy ways. Soak in the bath, or a weekend at the beach or something like that. Go and get a massage or do a meditation session or something. I love to grab a cup of tea and just daydream out the window. Whatever works for you to help you cope with the intensity of these energies under the eclipse, please do so. Of all the signs, you guys need it the most this time around with this eclipse. So, forewarned, forearmed. I want you to cope well with this energy and walk away being healed and whole and blessed because of what this eclipse brings. So, sorry, I just had to gather my headspace for a moment there. That's all I wanted to say to my YouTube channel. But for full details about all the other amazing things that are happening with regard to your sign, you should head over to the Patreon page. The link's in the description below. For $5, you'll get access to the rest of this video for your sign, but also to 2 moon forecasts each month, a back catalogue of amazing astrology videos, lots of astrological goodies. My Patreon members, they just love it. So do head on over there if you want to find out more. And now for my Patreon family who are watching this video, let's dive deeper into what's happening for Taurus.